Hello and welcome back to the review vault for all. Today we'll be looking at the Sega limited premium figure of Asuka in a sitting pose from Neon Genesis Evangelion. And this one is all about attitude. If a figure doesn't capture Asuka's attitude, it misses the point. So taking a closer look at this figure, it is a one-piece figure, meaning that the figure does not come off the base. It is one piece. So here's her hair. It looks small, but it's actually pretty big. Like, I have like a standard hand. You can see that it's the size of my hand. So although she's sitting down, this is still a big figure. It's not tall, but it is wide. First impressions is right away, this is a grounded, low profile pose, as you can see here. Seated with legs angled outward, one hand planted beside her for support, the other hand raised near her lips or chin with slightly backward lean. See that? This isn't battle mode Asuka, this is composed, self-aware, almost teasing Asuka, which is exactly the attitude she has in the anime before her big revelation at the very end of the anime, when everybody turns into orange goo. The seated posture makes the figure compact, right? So it's very, right, like a snowball, you compact a snowball. But it doesn't feel small. Once again, it's not small, right? Size of my hand. Not small. It's not tall, but it's big. And it feels deliberate. Looking at the color in detail, the most striking element here is the glossy red plug suit. This is what Asuka's known for, her red suit. But I won't lie, the most noticeable aspect of Asuka, right? If you only had one item that you could use to represent Asuka, it would obviously be these red hairpins. That, in my opinion, is the most noticeable and quickly recognizable things of Asuka. If you just had these red hairpins, you would instantly know or think of Asuka. So, but focusing back to the suit, which is obviously the red suit is what instantly draws your attention. It's not the hairpins, it's actually this red glossy suit. Looking at it, it has a metallic red finish, right? Black panel accents along arms and legs. See these, right? Sculpted seam lines and small circular mechanical details, right? See that? The shine of the red really matters. It is glossy. And that glossy finish gives the suit that Eva Tech aesthetic. Sleek, futuristic, and slightly mechanical. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but it is very glossy. It is. The black detailing breaks up the red so it doesn't look flat. Once again, that is more of a character design than the figure, but the figure does justify it. You know, imagine if everything was just completely red with no black. Kind of look pretty bland and flat. But because we have these black accents everywhere, it kind of it gives it more detail. All right, so looking at the face here, always important to look at the enemy figure's face, because that is usually where everything goes wrong. But in this case, it actually looks pretty good. Asuka's expression in this figure is key. The bright blue eyes, slight smirk, and finger resting on her chin. This expression leads into her confident and slightly mischievous personality. If for those who've seen Neon Genesis Evangelion, Asuka in Evangelion is competitive, prideful, emotionally complex, and constantly trying to prove herself. And this pose here doesn't show vulnerability, it shows control. It feels like a moment before she says something bold or cheeky. Looking at the sculpt here, the limited premium line focuses on clean anime accuracy, smooth sculpting, and strong paint presence. The hair sculpt flows naturally down her back. So let's swing back to her hair. If you could see her hair, it looks like it just naturally flows down the back without overcomplication. The twin red hair clips are sharply defined, her most recognizable aspect. And the soup panel lines are clean and evenly applied. All right, so one isn't all the way up here and the other one down here. No, it's like evenly applied. This isn't hyper detailed like a high skill end figure, right? But it nails the essentials. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, Asuka's plug suit represents her identity as an EVA pilot, her pride, and her need for validation. The seated pose almost feels like a quiet character study version of her. Not mid-battle chaos, no psychological breakdowns. For those of you who've seen the anime, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Her famous screaming scene. But this is, or the scene at the very end where she has her revelation after Asuka and Shinji come out the orange goo. But this is just Asuka, confident and in control. And that's an interesting angle for a figure. Usually when you see figures and you have seen the anime from where the figures are come from, and you know the character very well, sometimes you acknowledge that the figure sometimes are made just to look good, doesn't really represent the character sometimes. Usually it's just, here it looks good, so you should buy it. But this one actually represents who Asuka is in the anime. Because of its seated pose, it works well on desk angles, lower shelves, because remember, it is pretty short but big. And would probably look good if it's paired with other EVA characters such as Rei or Shinji. It doesn't dominate vertically, obviously, because it's not that tall, but it draws attention through color. The red is impossible to ignore on this figure. Even her orange hair is kind of reddish. My final thoughts, if you're looking for explosive action, this figure is obviously not it. But if you want strong character attitude, a glossy plug suit detail, recognizable silhouette, and compact display presence, this Sega Limited Prime Asuka figure delivers. It captures her confidence without overcomplicating the sculpt. Asuka has always been a character driven by pride and presence, and this figure captures that presence in a calm, controlled movement. So if you're in Neon Genesis Evangelion fan and you're looking for an Asuka figure, I would recommend this. This is on the cheaper side. I believe I bought this for less than $20. So that tells you something. And it's not bad. If you look at the more complicated detailing here, it doesn't look bad. The face, you got to be very careful when it comes to cheap figures in the face. For some reason, the faces are usually messed up, and the hair. You gotta look careful at the hair. But this hair actually looks pretty good, and the face looks good, so it's good for a cheap figure. If you like this anime figure review, I have a bunch more on my channel. I also review other stuff besides anime figures, other memorabilia, merchandise, and collectibles. So if you're interested in that, check out my channel. Leave a like below. Leave a comment if you would buy this figure. And I'll see you next time.